Authorities are calling it a successful roundup of alleged child sex offenders, but it also shows how widespread that crime is in North Texas. The Dallas FBI office, along with some of the 70 law enforcement agencies that all participated, announced the results of what they called Operation Sataria Shield.
4:38 a.m. Newark, New Jersey. Federal agents gathered in darkness outside a private office building. Frost covered the windows. The street was silent. Inside, investigators believed they would find evidence of financial fraud. What they discovered would expose one of the largest child trafficking networks in U.S. history. At 8:21 a.m., FBI and IC agents executed a federal search warrant. The location was registered as a diplomatic liaison office. The name on the registration, Safia Rahman Noor, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Somalia. The door was reinforced. The lock was commercial grade. This wasn't standard diplomatic space. Agents entered with precision. The main workspace appeared normal. Executive desk, filing cabinets, Somali and American flags on the wall. Then they looked behind the desk. 27 sealed black bundles were stacked against the wall. Each bundle was wrapped in vacuum-sealed packaging. The markings matched materials previously linked to international narcotics trafficking. Agents opened the executive desk. Inside a concealed compartment, they found a suppressed semi-automatic handgun, fully loaded. No serial number. No diplomatic disclosure. If you want the full truth about what happened next, hit like so this story reaches more people. In the corner of the office sat a reinforced aluminum suitcase. The exterior showed signs of frequent travel. The locks were high-security tumbler systems. Agents opened it. Inside, $18.4 million in U.S. currency. Vacuum-sealed. Sorted by denomination. Bundled in bank-standard wrapping. None of it was listed in any financial filing. None of it appeared in diplomatic disclosures. None of it had been declared. This wasn't an office. This was an operations center. By 9:15 a.m., the scene was secured. Evidence teams photographed every surface. Financial crimes investigators were called immediately. The question wasn't just what Noor was doing. It was how long she'd been doing it, and who else was involved. Federal investigators don't stop at physical evidence. They follow the money. By 10:38 a.m., financial analysts began reviewing banking records tied to Safia Rahman Noor. The search wasn't limited to her personal accounts. It expanded to every nonprofit, charity, and foundation connected to her name. The data painted a disturbing picture. Investigators identified 44 separate organizations. All were legally registered in the United States. All claimed to operate as charities, cultural foundations, or humanitarian programs. Together, these entities had moved more than $268 million over 14 years. The transactions weren't random. They were structured. Analysts documented over 610 wire transfers deliberately split into smaller amounts. Each transfer stayed just below federal reporting thresholds. The pattern was consistent across multiple banks and states. Funds moved through 6 U.S. states. Then they crossed into 4 foreign jurisdictions. Then they reconverged into protected clearing accounts. Those accounts were linked to maritime logistics firms, freight brokers, diplomatic cargo handlers, all operating under inspection exemptions. This wasn't charity work. This was a logistics operation disguised as charity work. Financial timelines were compared with transport records. Every major funding surge matched a cargo movement. Every cargo movement involved undocumented transfers. Some of those transfers were human. Comment exposed below if you believe this operation was designed to avoid detection. Investigators cross-referenced donation records with transport manifests. The alignment was exact. A $2.1 million donation cleared on March 14, 2023. 5 days later, a diplomatic cargo shipment departed Newark without customs inspection. The manifest listed humanitarian supplies. No passengers were declared. A $4.7 million transfer cleared on August 3, 2023. 6 days later, another shipment departed under diplomatic clearance. Same pattern, same exemptions. The system had been running for over a decade. Noor wasn't just using her position, she was exploiting it. Diplomatic immunity prevented inspections. Non-profit status reduced scrutiny. Shell companies obscured ownership. The entire structure was designed to operate inside the system while avoiding oversight. By late morning, investigators reached a conclusion. This wasn't a rogue operation. It was an institutional exploitation. It relied on trust, paperwork, and assumed legitimacy. And it had been invisible for 15 years. Federal analysts didn't just review financial records. They reviewed meeting logs, City records showed Safia Rahman Noor had attended more than 280 closed-door meetings over the previous decade. The attendees included local officials, non-profit directors, port administrators, and logistics coordinators. Meeting notes appeared routine. Budget discussions, program approvals, facility permits. But financial data told a different story. After nearly every meeting, a funding spike occurred. Donations increased. Transfers cleared. Cargo approvals were issued. The pattern repeated across multiple cities and states. In Newark, Noor met with a port liaison officer on February 9, 2022. 3 days later, a $1.3 million transfer cleared. 1 week after that, a cargo exemption was approved for a shipment labeled as medical equipment. In Minneapolis, she met with nonprofit coordinators on June 18, 2022. Within 48 hours, $890,000 moved through a shell account. The receiving entity was a logistics company operating under humanitarian status. In Los Angeles, she attended a closed session with municipal staff on October 4, 2023. Less than 1 week later, $2.4 million cleared, and a diplomatic shipment departed without inspection. This wasn't coincidence. This was coordination. Type yes if you're ready to see how deep this goes. Investigators identified 2 local officials who received direct payments. The total, $1.6 million over 4 years. Both officials had approved permits tied to Noor's network. Both had signed off on routing exemptions. Both had access to oversight systems. Their signatures appeared on documents that allowed shipments to bypass standard inspections. One official worked in port operations. The other managed non-profit registrations. Together, they provided the clearance Noor needed to move cargo, money, and people without triggering alarms. The structure wasn't violent. It was bureaucratic. It didn't rely on threats. It relied on paperwork, access, and institutional trust. And it worked. By early afternoon, the scope of the investigation had expanded beyond financial crimes. This wasn't just about money laundering. It was about what the money was funding. Investigators began mapping transport routes, cargo manifests, shipping schedules, diplomatic clearances. Every trail pointed to the same conclusion. Children were being moved. At 2:47 p.m., the investigation took on new urgency. Analysts reviewing travel records discovered Safia Rahman Noor was scheduled to depart the United States that evening. Her flight was booked under diplomatic status. First class. No visa required. Her luggage would pass through diplomatic handling. No inspection. No delays. She was preparing to leave the country. Agents mobilized immediately. At Newark Liberty International Airport, surveillance teams tracked her movement through the terminal. She walked calmly. No rushed steps. No nervous glances. Her behavior suggested routine departure. But at 4:11 p.m., a priority alert reached the command desk. A maritime data system had flagged a cargo vessel connected to Noor's financial network. The ship had departed port earlier that day. It was already more than 3 hours at sea. The manifest listed humanitarian equipment. No commercial freight. No passengers. Analysts cross-checked payment logs. A $7.8 million transfer had cleared less than 4 hours before the ship's departure. The receiving account matched logistics payments identified earlier in the investigation. Then investigators found the missing entry. Internal transport records referenced 120 unregistered units scheduled for offshore transfer. The units weren't cargo. They were American children reported missing across multiple states over the previous 18 months. Share this so more people understand what was happening. At 4:26 p.m., federal agents intercepted Noor at the departure gate. She did not resist. She did not speak. Her diplomatic credentials were seized. Her passport was secured. She was taken into custody without incident. But the arrest didn't stop the ship. By 5:02 p.m., the cargo vessel had crossed into deeper waters. It was moving toward international lanes beyond standard port jurisdiction. The operation had 2 parallel tracks. One was the diplomatic exit. The other was the transport already in motion. Stopping one didn't stop the other. Investigators had a choice. Wait for jurisdiction agreements. Or act immediately. They chose action. At 5:18 p.m., federal authorities confirmed the vessel's location and trajectory. A joint task force was activated. FBI, DEA, Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Coast Guard. Naval assets were placed on standby. The mission was clear. Locate the vessel. Board the ship. Secure the children first. By 6:02 p.m., aerial surveillance confirmed visual contact. The ship was moving steadily. No erratic behavior. No attempt to evade. Thermal imaging detected movement on multiple decks. Communication signals indicated contact between the ship and an external coordination point. Intercepted transmissions suggested the presence of armed personnel on board. Intelligence analysts estimated over 50 hostile operatives, equipped with rifles, possibly compact launch systems. This wasn't a civilian crew. This was a private security force. By 6:44 p.m., unmanned aerial systems were launched. Multiple drones established perimeter tracking. Deck layouts were mapped in real time. Fast response maritime units repositioned to approach from multiple angles. The vessel did not alter course. It continued toward international waters. At 7:21 p.m., boarding authorization was issued. No warning was transmitted. Approach teams moved under low visibility conditions. Drones marked access points. Choke areas were identified along the hull and superstructure. Comment justice if you believe this rescue was worth the risk. At 7:29 p.m., Coast Guard boarding teams made contact. Resistance was immediate. Armed personnel attempted to reposition and block access routes. Movement patterns indicated prior planning for interception. Federal teams advanced in coordinated sections. Primary teams pushed toward crew quarters and command areas. Secondary teams moved directly toward reinforced cargo zones identified through ship schematics. Gunfire erupted on the forward deck. 2 agents sustained injuries but remained operational. Drones deployed disabling charges at pre-selected locations. Internal movement routes were blocked. Hostile operatives were prevented from regrouping. By 7:46 p.m., resistance collapsed. 9 hostile operatives were neutralized. Remaining personnel surrendered under pressure. At 7:49 p.m., teams reached the secured cargo section. Inside, agents confirmed the presence of 120 children. Alive. Contained. At 7:52 p.m., command received confirmation. All children secured. Vessel under full federal control. The immediate threat was neutralized. If this shocks you, hit like now. By 12:18 a.m., the cargo vessel was secured alongside a federal staging pier under U.S. Coast Guard control. The children were transferred first. Medical teams conducted initial assessments. All 120 children were alive. Many showed signs of dehydration, exhaustion, psychological distress. But they were safe. Once the evacuation was complete, investigators began a systematic search of the ship. The interior configuration did not match commercial cargo standards. Behind reinforced steel doors, agents discovered a 3-tier containment structure welded into the vessel's frame. Each tier contained narrow compartments. The compartments were sized for seated confinement. None allowed standing. Ventilation was limited. Lighting was minimal. Locking mechanisms had been installed recently. There were no names inside the compartments. Only numeric markings. Investigators determined the structure was purpose-built. It was not temporary. It was not improvised. This ship was designed to transport children. In the mechanical bay, agents recovered a ruggedized tablet still powered on. The device contained recent transmission logs. The final outbound message confirmed 120 units loaded. Estimated delivery time 19 hours. A follow-up entry referenced a next procurement window in 16 days. This indicated the vessel was part of a repeating operation, not a single transport. A cycle. Type rescue below if you believe these children would have disappeared forever. Further inspection focused on the aft cargo section. Containers were opened and catalogued. Investigators recovered documents tied to 14 prior voyages under different shell company names. GPS logs showed routes through 5 countries. Payment records linked the voyages to cryptocurrency wallets holding over $47 million. Inside the captain's cabin, agents located a sealed binder hidden behind a wall panel. The binder contained profiles of 347 missing children from multiple U.S. states. Each profile included dates, identifiers, status markers. Several entries were marked as completed. Others were marked pending. The evidence confirmed the vessel was one component of a larger transport system. The children rescued were not the first targets. They were the latest. The vessel was sealed as evidence. The scope of the case expanded beyond a single operation. This wasn't an isolated incident. This was an infrastructure. By 6:37 a.m., the operation shifted from field control to full-scale investigation. With the vessel secured and evidence sealed, federal teams moved to expand the case beyond the ship and the arrest of Safia Rahman Noor. Financial analysts, counter-trafficking units, and prosecutors consolidated data from seized devices, shipping records, and banking logs. The findings confirmed the network extended far beyond a single individual. Investigators mapped 9 US-based non-profit organizations directly tied to Noor's financial structure. All were legally registered. All received large annual donations. Portions of those funds were redirected to accounts linked to international handlers. Total confirmed financial flow exceeded $336 million. The timeline matched disappearance reports across multiple states. Each funding surge aligned with a reported missing case. The pattern was consistent. Investigators reviewed communication logs recovered from Noor's office and the cargo vessel. Messages were written in neutral administrative language. Once decoded, they referenced movement schedules, asset availability, and delivery confirmation. No violent language was used. The system relied on coordination, not force. Records showed Noor attended over 310 closed-door meetings with municipal officials, non-profit administrators, and logistics coordinators over 15 years. Meeting agendas appeared legitimate. Financial records showed approvals and transfers immediately afterward. 2 local officials were identified as recipients of donations totaling $1.6 million. Both approved permits and routing exemptions connected to the network. Subpoenas were issued. Additional accounts were frozen. International partners were notified. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. By mid-morning, tip lines opened nationwide. Former associates began providing statements. Financial institutions reported transactions previously dismissed as routine charity transfers. Investigators concluded the operation survived because it operated inside trusted systems. It used paperwork. It used status. It used assumptions. Removing one individual did not dismantle the structure, but the vessel interception disrupted the system's timing. It exposed its logistics. It revealed its scale. The rescue prevented the immediate loss of 120 children. It also exposed a vulnerability embedded within institutions designed to protect the public. Prosecutors began building cases against 17 individuals connected to the network. Charges included human trafficking, money laundering, conspiracy, and corruption. Noor remained in federal custody. No bail was offered. Her diplomatic immunity was revoked. The children were placed in protective care. Reunification efforts began immediately. Some families had been searching for years. One mother from Ohio had reported her daughter missing 14 months earlier. Her daughter was among the 120 rescued. The reunion happened at a secure federal facility. No cameras, no media, just relief and tears. But not every family would be reunited. Some children had been moved before this operation began. Some were still missing. The investigation continued. Federal agents expanded the search to international partners. Interpol was notified. Foreign law enforcement agencies in 4 countries launched parallel investigations. The network had operated across borders. Shutting it down required global coordination. By the end of the week, 3 additional suspects were arrested. 2 in the United States. 1 in Kenya. Assets worth $94 million were frozen. Properties in 5 states were seized. Bank accounts were locked pending forfeiture proceedings. Comment your reaction below if you believe this operation should have been stopped years ago. The case revealed something deeper than individual crimes. It revealed how systems designed to protect can be exploited by those who understand them. Diplomatic immunity exists to protect legitimate international work. But in this case, it became a shield for trafficking. Non-profit status exists to encourage charitable work. But here, it became a cover for logistics and money laundering. Inspection exemptions exist to facilitate humanitarian aid. But in this operation, they allowed human cargo to move without oversight. The structure didn't break laws. It used laws. It didn't operate outside institutions. It operated inside them. And for 15 years, it went undetected. Not because investigators weren't capable, but because the system assumed legitimacy based on credentials and paperwork. That assumption was a vulnerability, and it was exploited with precision. Investigators concluded that institutional trust, without verification, creates gaps. Those gaps become opportunities for those willing to exploit them. In this case, the cost of that gap was 120 children, and potentially hundreds more before them. The rescue was a success, but it also exposed a failure of oversight, a failure of verification, a failure to question authority when authority wears the right credentials. The operation survived because people assumed diplomatic status meant legitimacy, because non-profit registration meant charity, because meetings with officials meant transparency. None of those assumptions were true. Share this video before it's buried. Safia Rahman Noor's trial is scheduled for federal court. Prosecutors are seeking maximum sentences on all charges. The evidence is overwhelming. Financial records, communication logs, Testimonies from rescued children.
GPS data.
Video footage from the vessel. Her defense has offered no public statement. The 2 local officials who received payments have been charged with conspiracy and corruption. Both have pleaded not guilty. Both face decades in federal prison. The 9 hostile operatives neutralized during the boarding operation have been identified. 7 were foreign nationals. 2 were U.S. citizens. Their backgrounds revealed prior involvement in private security firms operating in conflict zones. They were hired specifically to prevent interdiction.
They failed.
The 120 children rescued are receiving trauma counseling and medical care. Some will require years of support, but they are alive.
And they are home.
That outcome was not guaranteed. If the vessel had reached international waters, jurisdiction would have become complicated.
Delays would have followed.
And those delays might have meant permanent loss. Timing saved lives. But the operation also raised questions. How many other ships are still operating? How many other networks are using the same methods? Federal investigators believe this case is not isolated. They believe similar operations exist. And they are looking. Hit like if you believe justice is worth fighting for. The investigation did not end with arrests. It expanded into a review of how diplomatic processes are monitored, how non-profit organizations are verified, how cargo exemptions are granted. Lawmakers in 3 states have called for hearings. Federal agencies are reviewing oversight protocols. But systemic change is slow. And while systems are being reviewed, other networks may still be operating. The fight against trafficking is not a single operation. It is a continuous effort that requires vigilance, resources, and institutional accountability. This case proved that networks can operate for years inside trusted systems. It also proved they can be stopped, but only if people are willing to look,
to question, to act.
The children rescued from that vessel are proof that action matters. They are alive because investigators followed the evidence. Because agents boarded that ship. Because no one assumed legitimacy without verification. That lesson applies beyond this case. It applies to every institution,
every system,
every structure built on trust.
Trust must be earned, not assumed.
And when trust is broken, accountability must follow. Subscribe so you don't miss updates on what happens next in this case. This operation exposed one of the largest child trafficking networks in recent U.S. history, but it also exposed something more dangerous. It exposed how easily systems designed to protect can become tools for exploitation, how credentials can replace verification, how paperwork can replace oversight, how assumptions can replace accountability. The rescue of 120 children is a victory, but it is also a warning that trafficking doesn't always look like violence. Sometimes it looks like bureaucracy, that criminals don't always operate in shadows. Sometimes they operate in offices. That exploitation doesn't always avoid institutions. Sometimes it thrives inside them. The case is ongoing. More arrests are expected. More networks are being mapped. But the question remains. How many other operations are still running? How many other children are still missing? If you believe this fight matters, comment justice below. Share this story so more people understand what is happening. And remember, the systems meant to protect us only work when we demand they are used correctly. This case is not over. This fight is not finished. The rescue of 120 children is only the beginning.